Traveling, my story. Well, I never opt for ready-made tours, um, as I think these package tours are more attractive for families with kids. I prefer traveling alone on my own, and I usually meet my friends in the country I go to. So I prefer to go to India. I really like this country, and I apply for a visa uh, in advance. Well, usually 1 month before my trip. It is very easy to get the Indian visa. You have to wait for about a week. You just come to any tour operator, I mean any uh, travel provider. You pay around 4,000 rubles and you get a visa. You can just go to their Indian center and pay less. It is somewhere in the center of St. Petersburg, but I don't have time and I don't like filling papers, so I prefer to have somebody who can do it for me. Uh, well, when going to India, I always use connecting flights, and I try to choose the gap between the flights, not too short and not too long, uh, something like in the middle, because sometimes there might be some flight delays or cancellations, and I don't want to miss a flight. That's why I try to always control things, and I always think in advance that I need to have a gap between my flights. Well, what else? I prefer using Air Astana. It's a great air. It's a great company. They provide good service, and well, it takes about 5 hours to fly to Astana from St. Petersburg, sometimes less, like 4.5 hours maybe. Then I have to change flights and I have to wait for some time there. And after that, I go to India, and it takes another 4 hours. Then in India, I come to Delhi, and from Delhi, I travel to other cities, and it takes about 2 or 3 hours um, to get to my destination, and then sometimes I have to travel by bus and so on. So normally it takes about 24 hours, sometimes even more, to get to the place I want to, but it is the cheapest option. Well, of course, you can pay like 50,000 rubles and have a direct flight, but I pay less, and it is way cheaper to have connecting flights. Well, uh, what else? I have never missed a flight in my life. Yeah. Uh, if talking about baggage, you can take. Well, there is a baggage allowance, and if you don't exceed it, it's okay. You can take up to 10 kilos if you use Air Astana. It's a great company, and I like the food. The food is perfect, and the choice of food is great. There are several dishes for vegetarians, and there are even dishes for people who live on a plant-based diet, and for people who like meat and so on. So the choice is really amazing, and the quality of food is perfect on board. So I highly recommend you this company. Well, I never book hotels or something like that, because in India I normally live in ashram. I just come and pay a little money, very little amount of money. I pay about 90 rubles per day when I live in a double room with my friend, or 30 rubles per day when I live in the dorm. 30 rubles, it's amazingly cheap. Yeah. What else? Then I go to the ocean, and when I travel to the ocean, I use a bus. Um, it's a sleeping bus. It takes 16 hours to get to the ocean, but most of the trip you're just sleeping, and then you wake up, and well, you're already there. Well, when you come to the ocean, I mean in Gekarna, you can just find any villa or rent a room in any house you want to, and it is really cheap, and normally you don't have to book in advance. But if you want to get a really good apartment and if you don't want to have unpleasant neighbors, then it's better to book in advance. But I have friends who do that, so I have never done that myself. That's it. And well, if talking about the tours, I don't like to go to some very touristy places. I like to go to some places which are far from well-known paths, like some sacred temples or some abandoned places, maybe abandoned temples, ruined castles, and so on. And you can always find somebody from local from locals, and you can ask them to make a tour for you. And in India it is possible. They will be eager to organize you a tour, to show you everything, and the charge for that is usually really low, and it is way cheaper than if you go and hire a professional guide. And actually locals can tell you much more about the history. They can tell you about some legends and some myths, so it is much more interesting, and it is usually much more fun, and they can advise you some good places to eat, some good places to visit. So I always make friends with local people, and this is my travel hack. You should always make friends with somebody who lives in the country you are visiting. So probably that's it.